Oh my god. Wow. Okay, this blew my mind. Loved this book. Gardens of the Moon, Malazan, Book of the Fallen, 1. Obsessed with it. I love it so much. I would accept it as a standalone. I love it that much. The book has a mysterious quality. It is my favorite kind of secretive, insofar as author Steven Erikson isn't really keeping any secrets from us. He's telling us everything. We just don't understand what it means, right? And we're trying to figure it out. There's such a gloomy atmosphere to the piece. It provides a great deal of philosophy and psychology about the soul of empire, about the blood of empire, about possession, about being possessed by the state, about being possessed by God, about the mutual abuse within the relationship that gods have with humans and humans have with gods. But what struck me most deeply was the dehumanizing relationship that the state can have with its subjects, the relationship between an unseen empress and her adjunct. Once again, I'm in love with a book for reasons that nobody else is. Okay, I started reading this book because huge fan of the Black Company. Black Company fucking changed my life, and I was looking for things that are slightly similar. I know that Glenn Cook himself, author of the Black Company, has a lot of great things to say about Steven Erikson's Malazan books, and online people seem to think that if you like the Black Company, then you'll love Gardens of the Moon, specifically the Bridge Burners, Whiskey Jack, Fiddler, Quick Ben, Callum, all of them. And they weren't wrong. They weren't wrong at all. I can see a lot of Cook influence here, and I loved it. But Erikson is a great pupil insofar as he's doing his own thing on top of it, which is something really monumental, something incredibly creative, and I think something that is deeply philosophical, deeply political, deeply soulful, and like atmospherically, the book is very mysterious, and I think it deals with mysteries of the soul of all things. And I think it has I guess it's actually evenly distributed, the attitude of the book, between optimism and grotesque pessimism. But my favorite thing about the book is a character called Lorn. Lorn is the adjunct to the Empress. The first time we see her, where she's investigating a massacre in Itko Can and comes across Captain Paran, Genovis Paran, and hires him as a guide. Once again, we're dealing with mysteries of the soul, like what exactly draws Lorn to Paran, what draws Paran to Lorn is kind of easier to discern. He's an impulsive and slightly self-destructive and self-obsessed individual when the book starts. But Lorn is drawn to him and commissions his services, hires him. And being an adjunct, she is the voice of Empress Lysine. We see Empress Lysine very briefly in this book in the opening. Very, very briefly. And we don't see her again. Lorn is kind of the stand-in for the Empress. She is the Empress's hand. That hand, of course, clutching an Atitaral sword, which is anti-magic. I also love the idea that she's anathema to magic, that she's anti-magic, that like, and she hates magic. She fucking hates it, right? Based on like a trauma from her youth, which comes into play where she reappears later within the narrative to confront Taishren and Dujek, and specifically Tattersail. Tattersail was, I think, during one of Tattersail's earlier commands, she fucked up something called the Mouse Quarters, the Mouse Riots, the Mouse Quarter Riots. That's it. And Lorn's entire family died because of Tattersail's terrible command, the terrible way that she handled it. And she was going to execute Tattersail right there. And that part of the book, I think, is narrated by a cool character named Talk the Younger. And he's like, it was there where you saw the woman Lorn. And as she's talked down from executing Tattersail, you see you see the Adjunct, this creature, this thing called the Adjunct, take its place, execute the woman Lorn entirely. So we're dealing about like psychological kind of interiority being killed by itself. We're talking about an interior suicide happening within that scene, and I like it so much. And that's just like the start of us getting to know Lorn. I don't know why Lorn isn't seen as one of the greatest fantasy characters ever, because she completely broke my heart. Maybe I saw a lot of myself in her. I think the most interesting characters in this book, Lorn is the most by a landslide, but also characters like Sari and Paran even are very interesting. I think that like the real poetic meaning of this book is given by Paran, where he's like musing at the Phoenix Inn, and he says something really cool. There we go. He heard the words of one of his childhood tutors. The man's lined face rose to his thoughts to accompany the voice. Those whom the gods choose, 'tis said, they first separate from other mortals by treachery, by stripping from you your spirit's lifeblood. The gods will take all your loved ones one by one to their death, and as you harden, as you become what they seek, the gods smile and nod. Each company you shun brings you closer to them. 'Tis the shaping of a tool, son, the prod and pull. The final succor they offer you is to end your loneliness, the very isolation they helped you create. Never get noticed, boy. Never get noticed is really like, if this book has one poetic meaning that you can just say very quickly, what is this book about? Psychologically, philosophically, and politically, it's never get noticed. That's what this book is about. It's about the consequences of getting noticed by gods, by stand-ins for gods. In Lorn's case, getting noticed by the state. And how did she get noticed? By having everything taken away from her, literally by the conditions in which the state created, by a riot within the mouse quarters. And she becomes possessed by the state, possessed by Empress Lysine. And like, it's relayed to us as though it is some sort of demonic possession, as if it's some sort of a divine possession, as the Lysine is silencing the woman who Lorn truly is. To the point where Lorn doesn't know whether her emotions are her own or whether they are that of the Empress's, whether she has like fit into this role so clearly, whether she is acting out the Empress's wishes so fully and so well that she doesn't know where Lorn is anymore. She doesn't know where Lorn starts or where the Empress ends. She doesn't know that. She's possessed by the state. The greatest part in this entire book is when Lorn breaks down crying with Tool, the Talani Moss. Some of the most beautiful writing ever, where she's Lorn is fucking everything to me, man, for real. She fell silent then, letting the tears roll down her cheeks, seep between her fingers, trickle along her wrists. Who wept from her eyes, she wondered. Was it Lorn or Lysine? Or was it for our kind? What did it matter? Such tears had been shed before and would be again by others like her and yet unlike her, and the winds would dry them all. Lorn and the Talani Moss free a Jaghut tyrant, like the worst kind of villain you could ever unleash upon a free city of Darujhistan. It's a gambit, and it's a gambit that failed. She enters Darujhistan, she does what she needs to do, and then she sets her sights on the coin bearer, yet another character who is being guided, used by something larger than himself as a piece within a game, by Opan, by luck. Just as Lorn is getting ready to kill the boy, Crocus, Corporal Blues, a crimson red guard, like people we've never seen before, just jump out of fucking nowhere. And Lorn is easily overmatched. Her Auditaral sword, who, by the way, dude, I love that sword. That sword is so fucking cool. That's my dream sword. Fuck magic. Fuck a magic system. Give me a conflicted morality system. Yeah, man, fuck a complex magic system. Give me a complex morality system. That's Lorn. But anyways, she gets overpowered in a sword fight. She flees, and then these two fucking bar wenches from the Phoenix Inn, these two complete fucking losers, on orders from the eel, corner her against a wall and stab her to death. Captain Paran shows up just after, and she dies in his arms, saying, like, this is how I go. No glorious end for the Adjunct. This is it. And then she dies, and Whiskey Jack sees her body and remarks, or at least calls attention to this ironic smile that was on her dead face. Captain Paran is obviously being used, like, really against his will throughout the entire book by gods and things that he can't even truly comprehend, and he's sick of it. He wants he wants autonomy. He wants to create his own future. That was like his thing from the beginning. He's a noble who wanted to become a soldier, who wanted to really create his own destiny. And every step along the way of Gardens of the Moon, that he's being interfered with by gods, by empresses, by adjuncts, by the state, by stratagems and gambits that he can't even truly begin to comprehend. Lorn's is a tragedy of underestimating her actual self. Lorn breaks my heart. I see so much of Lorn within there. When Lorn died, I threw the book across the room, man. I really did. I was like, fuck this book then. I was a 10-part series and a bunch of other books if you choose to read more, but 10 minimum. I was like, okay, it's going to be fun. Lorn, we're going to get this cool tale of retribution, you know? I was told this wasn't grimdark. This book was pretty fucking grimdark if your favorite character is Lorn. Jesus wasn't even like allowed a true opportunity for retribution. I guess she could have left immediately and like met up with Tool again, and they could have gone off and escaped all the empires and bloods and wrath and all that bullshit, but she didn't. I guess it's a case of just underestimating yourself and believing too wholeheartedly within your own gambit. It's about being possessed too completely by the state, about being dominated too much by empire. And my God, she was punished for it. I was so mad. It was such a shitty way to die, such a sad way to die. Then, of course, you know, after I had a cigarette, I was like, oh, that's the point. That's the point. The point is to be tragic. The point is to be gut-wrenching. I cried. It finally happened. A character death in a fantasy book made me cry. And it was Lorn. Just so pathetic, so pitiful. It's so contradictory within my reading of it because it feels so preordained and yet so avoidable at the same time, because those are the two things that are clashing within Lorn. An instrument of the state, who I think is just like a beautiful character, described pretty beautifully. You know, I think she's like an attractive character. I wanted to know her a lot more. I wanted to be in her orbit. And that was just taken from me. The instruments of the state are discarded, are killed in alleyways by thieves and prostitutes in defense of a city that honestly may not really deserve that great of a defense. The Rujistan isn't like this fucking Mecca, isn't this place of like bohemian fucking thinkers. It's a place of assassins and thieves and crooks and crooked politicians and cutthroat friends and lovers. And Lorn was trying to destroy it, to help the Empress gain control over all of the free cities, to aid in the Empress's, well, not just aid, she's acting as the Empress. She is like the adjunct. She's the voice of the Empress, the hand, the instrument of the Empress in that moment. She was there to conquer and to disrupt and to massacre, to inflict unholy damage on Darujistan. And Darujistan rebelled in the way that Darujistan knows how to rebel and how to reject authority, by hiring two lowlives to shove daggers into the empire, personified by this auburn-headed, beautiful woman with an Otataral sword, half dead already, just viciously stab her to death. The gambits of all empires will crumble due to the anarchic freedom of the criminal element, which can only be seen as magery, as magical. Anathema to the Empire, anathema to Lorn. And Lorn is just full of all this soul, all this self-doubt. Like, she's constantly doubting herself, then constantly disciplining herself, correcting herself, like in the moment. In the moment, we can see the true soul of Lorn and the unbelievable weight of Empire suffocating her soul. Sorry, I think, is a character that I think parallels Lorn's in a big way, and where Lorn is punished so much. Sorry, at least in this book, as Apsalar, by the end, she gets to kind of go off into the sunset from of book one with Crocus, and a lot of she's liberated because she was hyper literally possessed by both a fucking assassin death god named the Rope, or Cotillion, as well as a seer who was there at the moment it happened. Throughout most of this book, she is not herself. She has no autonomy. She's being controlled entirely, and she's doing some of the worst things you could possibly imagine: torture, senseless murder, bringing on the Shadow Throne, doing the Shadow's business, doing the Shadow's dirty work. And then when she comes back, it's coming back in like little memories. We get to deal with a little bit of trauma here, but I think that it's much more interesting to deal with Sari the same way that we're dealing with Lorn or with Paran, as like the aftershocks of being controlled by the state, the aftershocks of being controlled by God, the aftershocks of having your body hijacked. What makes Lorn's I think like so much more tragic than Sari's is that Lorn is conscious the entire time. Like, Lorn has to consciously do the grotesque and vile deeds of Lysine, of the Empire. She has to consciously follow through with them, and we know from the chapters that we see from her perspective, she's warring with herself over it. I think that the greatest war in Gardens of the Moon is happening within the characters, and that's what makes this book, I think, so masterful. And Sari, I should call her Apsalar. I know it's curious that like Crocus is like, I guess we'll call you Apsalar. She's like a god to us thieves, because like that's his view of women, right? He deifies them. He's guilty of the deification of the women around him. Like when he sees the beautiful like Chalice Diarl, like when he's robbing her, he kind of makes her into a god in his own mind. So it's about holding hostage a bunch of different things, like at varying degrees of severity. For Crocus, he is being used that time by luck, but he himself is like putting all of these women inside of this place in his mind that he's not even conscious of deification, and he finds himself possessed by the feelings that he has for them and does stupid things because he's like in love with Chalice. So he'll go and try to return a bunch of stuff that he stole, which I love that scene. That scene was super cute, where Chalice wakes up and interrogates him, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna get educated and shit. I'm gonna come back and win your heart. It was like so nice. But then when Apsalar starts to really dominate that place in his heart, once again he's possessed by her. Like, we're possessed by all sorts of things at all times. And I think that Gardens of the Moon and a character like Lorn has helped me realize this. And this is a huge philosophical truth: is that all we are our possessions, are what we are possessed by, and in turn what we are possessing. Like, all we are is our religion, our interests, our loves, our desires, our politics, our sins, our good deeds, all these things that we are possessed by, that like guide our motions, guide us forward. All we are our gambits, are our strategies for survival and for progress as human beings. And of course, if we're possessed by like desires and betrayals and all that, then we also inflict love and like heartache as well. So like most people are possessed by other people. Like, all we are our possessions. And thank God Steven Erikson in Gardens of the Moon gave us a character like Lorn. I mean, I could grapple with it in a fantastical way, but in a very grim way, in a way where the end isn't retribution. The end is a pathetic death by pathetic hands after pathetically underestimating yourself and giving yourself entirely to your function. It's such a tragedy. We see all these moments. We're in Lauren's head quite a bit, and it's like all these times where like she knows she's like this is going to lead to a stupid death. She's cognizant. She knows what she's doing is a bit fucking obscene. Just turn around. Just leave. But of course she can't do that. Not when you're possessed completely by Empire. You think of all the what ifs with a character like that. You know, all these half conceived notions of true soulfulness from her character, which I think are elegantly crafted into the character Lorn. Like there's clearly some sort of attraction between her and Captain Paran that will never get to flourish. There was some sort of camaraderie between the two of them that I would have loved to see more of. I would have loved for her to actually meet Apsalar or Sari. I would have loved a lot of things to happen with Lorn, but that couldn't. Lorn had to die like that. I also love the title, Gardens of the Moon. Apsalar, you know, after like being free of the possession from the rope on that rooftop, I think of Kroll's Belfry, right? And they're like, she and Crocus are looking up at the moon. He's looking at Moonspawn, you know, and she's looking at a real moon. And she's like, man, you know, there's a god up there, and he tends to gardens. And they say he's going to come down and take us away to a world with no wars, no blood, no empire. I love the title, Gardens of the Moon. Because I think it like symbolizes those ways out. Like looking for a way out of possession, just look up, you see the moon, like it's everywhere, but you can't ever really attain it. It's like the tragedy of that. It's the tragedy of being possessed by a narrative system, possessed by the state itself, possessed by a character arc that you have to complete, possessed of fantasy. And all of that, I think, is Empire. All of that. Lorn just moved me so much. Yeah, dude, I totally cried. I totally got mad at this book. It's got a lot of battle damage on it, actually, because I fucking threw it. I was like, okay, fuck this book then. I'm not gonna read 10 books now without Lorn. That was my main girl. That was best girl. That was my favorite. And then I just realized how brilliant it was. And I'm trying not to get any spoilers on this series, but I did test the waters enough to learn that people don't really like Gardens of the Moon very much. I don't know why. I think it's perfect. I think it's great. I think it's jagged like a dagger, and you feel that it's jagged only after it's sunk deep into your fucking gut, twisting in your side. It's a vicious, mysterious book that is like so full of soul, but so full of broken ones. And I love that about it. It's deeply imaginative. I like that it doesn't really want to explain too much to you. That's what lends to its mysterious qualities. Like over time, you start to get a handle over Erickson's fantasy systems here, the frameworks, how everything works, the politics of it, the Warrens, all the different gods. I mean, there's glossaries and maps and dramatis personae all throughout here. Like it's a pretty complicated work. But what matters most to me is the characters, and the characters here can be so tragic and just so pathetically human. And I think that I look at myself as very pathetically human, and I like seeing characters in fantasy books act more human than I could bear sometimes, you know. And Lorn is a character like that, defeated by Empire itself, by the possession of Empire, by her like human embodiment of empire. Such a lonely character. Such a lonely character that her like most like lasting companion throughout this book is a fucking undead ancient soldier named Tool, the Talani Moss. And there's like a great kind of dynamic between the two of them as well. It's like the long dead leading the about to be dead through a gambit that will seal her fate because she can't break the spell of empire. She's consumed by it. I fucking love Lorn. Oh man, love Lorn. Love Lorn. Well, that's interesting. For Lorn. Do a lot with Lorn. Love Lorn, though. That seems to be most apt. This is really special. I might do a video about each book in Malazan. I'm not only going to read Malazan, so it might take like a year to do like all of the Malazan books. I'm going to do at least 10. This was stunning, and I don't see anybody talking about books or anything in the way that I like to, which is by hyper focusing on one specific character. And but that's how I operate. That's how I operate. I find a theme that I really like. I see it best embodied by a character like Lorn, and then that character fucking just shapes my outlook for the next year or two of my life. Lorn is that kind of character for me. She's exactly the kind of character that I like. She's most similar to a Glenn Cook character. Like out of all these people, more she's more like she's got like a soul catcher lady kind of thing going on, you know. I see more of Glenn Cook within Erickson's treatment of Lorn, the adjunct, than I do with Whiskey Jack and any of the bridge burners. And I think that's like the bridge burners is normally the place where most people will point to and go, that's Glenn Cook, that's a Glenn Cook stuff. And I'm like, well, sure, but also Lorn even more so. This is a scenario where Erickson is much more unforgiving than Cook ever was. If Lorn existed in the Black Company, she would have been in it for at least maybe the whole fucking series. That's the kind of character that Cook likes to either let get worse or, you know, help find retribution for. Redemption. But Erickson, very unforgiving when it comes to that kind of character, that sort of archetype. And I loved him for it because it was like a slap in the face for me. Finally, I read a fantasy book where like a death moved me to tears. You know, I've been affected by deaths in fantasy books before, but I guess I didn't expect this one, even though I should have. It was like telegraphed from miles away by Lorn herself, saying that like this was going to be her last act, and she knew it. But failure is not an option. I won't die in failure, but I will probably die doing this gambit. Like it was telegraphed. I just thought, no way. Book one, she's the most compelling character, the most conflicted character, and that's saying a lot considering that it like Sorry and Absolar exist in this fucking book, and Lorn is even more conflicted than she ever was. I'm like, no way, they're gonna kill her, and fucking kills her. That's a gambit. That's a gambit of Erickson to kill Lorn this early. That's a gambit, and I wonder if that'll pay off or not. Yeah, it's about conflicted souls, conflicted characters. And why are we conflicted? Because we have gods and empires raging inside of us. Gods and empires are raging inside of me. Inside of you, inside of Sorry, inside of Paran, inside of Adjunct Lorn. Holy shit, I loved this fucking book. Thank you for letting me wax poetic about it. Thank you for letting me babble incoherently about it. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my thoughts, my feelings, just open up psychologically about how much this book moved me, and specifically how much I love Adjunct Lorn and how I'm going to miss her so much moving on from this series. My life won't be the same. There's going to be a before Lorn and after Lorn. And I'm really shook to my core about Lorn's death. I just finished this book like right before I press record, in case you're wondering. That's like the trajectory of my like emotional um, narrative right now. It's like I'm still fucked up about it, and I'm going to be fucked up about it for a while. But thank you so much for watching. This book's essential. This book's fucking great. Never read anything like it. It's unique. It's, I think, a pretty dark book, a mysterious book, and a book that I think is trying to teach its reader desperately about autonomy, desperately about taking control of your life. And Lorn is the greatest tragic cautionary tale of all. Because that's who I saw myself within. That's what I saw myself desiring. But now I need to just take control of my life. She lost control. She lost her life. Control your life. Gods and empires are raging inside of me. Gods and empires are raging inside of all of us. And Gardens of the Moon, that's exactly what this book is about. And that's why it's so powerful. That's why I love it. Thank you for watching.